That's good. Welcome, Yamhill County, to Speaking Frankly. I'm your host, Howie Harkema, and our tagline is, "And how we doin'?" Today, my guest is recently elected into position of County Commissioner, Casey Kulla. Casey, welcome.
It's great to be here.
Oh, it's great to have you here.
Thank you.
Congratulations, number one.
Thanks.
I know that you were just inducted on, what was it, Monday?
On Monday, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
At 8 o'clock. I watched the video.
All
it was
right.
awesome. Yeah, it was great. So
it's very exciting, by the way, to finally be in the position. So.
Yes, and all of Yamhill County is excited.
Well, that's good.
Yeah. So what do you see as your first steps?
Well, some of the really important things to me are to make it so that the county, so the residents in the county know exactly what the county commissioners are doing and the decisions we're making, and also the county residents know by social media and website and us just being out there in the community exactly what's happening and that we want their input. So kind of a reshaping of the face of the county to the residents of the county is a big first step for me. And that's simple things like county residents knowing that when they come to a meeting, and first of all, knowing when the meeting is and where the meeting is and what's going to be talked about it, so that if they have some interest, they can be engaged.
Sure.
But then also being able to find the information that the county has generated over the years. And that's really not accessible right now.
Right. Even on the county website, I don't know how far back you can go. Mm-hmm. So you're looking forward to having more information out there of what has gone on in the past?
Yeah. Right now, if there's not something available, it requires a formal request for information, and that often requires money, believe it or not. If you want to find something out from the county, the policy is that the county charges you for it.
Huh.
Where I am kind of of the position that all the documents the county generates are digital. It doesn't cost anything to just put them all up on the website, searchable.
Sure.
So that people don't need to ask. They can ask, where do I find that? And then they can direct you to that. But
sure. And
it's just kind of a change to think about how the commissioners especially can serve people in the county and how we want to hear from them.
Well, especially
because I want to hear from them.
Sure, and specifically with a PDF file, which is a portable document file,
right?
It would be simple to put all of that in a website, and searchable.
Yeah, but then I want to start addressing, looking at where the county can start addressing climate change.
Sure.
So those are my own two personal things I really want to tackle. But there are a lot of other issues facing the county.
Well, talk about climate change for a moment and how Yamhill County can get involved.
Right. So Yamhill County is the forecasts are for the county to have shorter, wetter winters, so more intense in the winter.
Yeah.
But because shorter, we're going to have a longer dry season that will be warmer. So longer, hotter, and drier. And the result of that for us, besides the fact it's going to be warmer or it'll be going to be wetter, is we're going to have an increased fire risk.
Yes.
Which you're already talking about. It's already on people's awareness, the top of their heads.
Right.
And then we're going to have decreased water availability during the summer because we're going to have a lot more in the winter and a lot less in the summer. And so for me, what I want to do is I want to start addressing those things first, the tangible, this is what we're going to experience. And then I want to start tackling the reducing the county's carbon footprint, essentially. And then the third thing, so that's like we're adapting to the weather we're going to have in the future by being aware of what's happening, what's going to happen or what is happening. And then the mitigating is that like reducing our own levels of carbon emissions. And then we call it sequestration. So there's the third part of that, which is to essentially plant more trees, grow more grass that we mow, graze heavily native grasses, get more carbon grown here because we're really good at growing things, to take more carbon out of the atmosphere and put it in a stable form.
So we are exceptional at growing things.
We are, yeah.
Let's talk about water depletion in the reservoirs happening quicker than normal because of the longer spring, summer, fall.
Sure. Yeah, so we have seen that, especially in exceptional years, like 2015 was a year where water levels were going down in wells. They were going down. They were very low in the rivers to begin with.
Yeah.
McMinnville Water and Light is one exception in that they have a lot of water. So they are unique in the county in that way. But the smaller municipalities have been experiencing either they can't keep up with the demands or their infrastructure is old and they need to replace it.
Right, Lafayette had that problem
expensive.
like 10 years ago.
Yeah. Amity had a problem with its water supply 2 summers ago. So what we really need to do is start by looking at new uses of water.
Yes.
And that's a delicate topic because water is in theory the property of the state of Oregon.
Right.
So counties messing with how we regulate water is tricky. And I want to be very careful about that.
Yeah.
That we don't run afoul of the state. But I do think we still need to slow our water down in the winter. Get it into the ground, get it infiltrating all of our groundwater supply. So then in the summer we have water that basically, if you let water infiltrate in the winter in your soil, say in your yard, eventually at some point in the year it's going to come out in the Cozine or in the Yamhill or in the Willamette. It's the craziest thing. And it's filtered, it's cold, it's really clean for fish and for swimming and for irrigating with. So those are things we can do, but we can also look at regulating new uses of water in the county.
Sure. And another thing, you can take showers instead of baths. Mm-hmm. You can use those low pressure heads on your showers so you're not using as much water.
Right. So there are personal decisions we can make every day. Absolutely.
Right.
I'm sorry.
So when the city or the county requests people to not water their lawns per se, how does that affect the people that want that green lawn?
Right. Well, it's less likely to have a green lawn.
Yeah.
The thing that's, I don't know, it's funny for me, on the farm we irrigate everything once a week.
Sure.
And so, but
Once a week?
Once a week. We irrigate our orchards once a year. So the rate of water use in cities can be on a per person basis can be greater. Now farmers are the largest source of water usage at this point too. So farmers need to have a conversation about how we're using our water too. And there are lots of programs through the National Resource Conservation Service, which is through the USDA, and through the Soil Water Conservation District to help people with increasing their efficiency of their water.
Perfect.
Yeah.
So is there places they can go on websites to find this information?
If you want to learn, let's see, I'm trying to think. The National Resources Conservation Service has great information on theirs. The USDA has something called the Northwest Climate Hub, where you can learn about how water will change in your area. I'm trying to think if Soil and Water Conservation District has something too, but
yeah, the watershed website might also have some of that.
Basin Council and Watershed Council for sure.
So let's talk about carbon footprint for a moment. All of us can do something about this. So let's talk about that.
Okay, that sounds great. What can an individual person do? Because I'm much more focused these days on what the county can do.
Well, we've lessened our garbage amount by recycling a lot of things.
Okay.
Including styrofoam, which Recology just recently passed, getting the recyclables, also including that.
Right.
And so...
Right. Yeah, that's right. And the less garbage that goes to the landfill, the less methane that's generated over a long period of time. And methane's something like 70 times more potent of a greenhouse gas than carbon dioxide.
Which depletes the ozone faster.
Sure.
Than CO2.
So, yeah, exactly. And methane is more likely, each molecule will raise the temperature of the atmosphere more, essentially, by a lot than carbon dioxide. So keeping it out of landfills is definitely a huge benefit in terms of greenhouse gas.
Sure.
Yeah.
But
at the county level, what we can do is the county government is every day remodeling, renovating, rebuilding buildings around the county to house government affairs.
Sure.
What we can do is just be in the habit of always putting in a solar array, whether it be for solar hot water, which is one of the most efficient ways to reduce your energy use from greenhouse gases, at least. We can put in solar panels on those, but we can also take steps to encourage and incentivize people in Yamhill County to do the same thing on their own homes.
Exactly.
And on their own businesses. I mean, whether that's property tax waivers for older, like existing buildings, or whether it's adjusting system development charges if you put in a solar array for new construction. There's lots of things we can do that way. We can also, under very careful situations, we can also allow solar companies to set up solar arrays on like commercial scale solar arrays.
Sure.
And the county has responded to very poor examples of soil management, I guess would be a way to put it, with solar arrays by essentially banning them on high-value farmland.
Sure.
And so if we are willing to work with solar companies to say, hey, this is how you, because they are construction companies, or they're developers, they don't know how to take care of soil, they don't know how to take care of a farm, but if we can work with them, we can have more solar arrays without destroying our soil.
Don't you think everything's a little bit relational? I mean, if we can work together to promote all of this, and work together to find solutions, then it all works.
Absolutely.
For everybody.
Yeah. Yeah. So then on the other kind of side of the things is that we can be pulling carbon out of our atmosphere as well. It doesn't have to be about doing less exclusively. Right. Because we can all do things that minimize the amount of greenhouse gas emissions that are attributed to our activities. But in Yamhill County, again, we're really good at growing stuff.
Yep.
So, I know a friend who's in McMinnville, and she has a large town property, and it's completely covered with native plants. Trees and understory and, perennials and long-lived biennials, or whatever, long-lived plants that die back every winter.
Sure.
It's amazing to see what'll grow here in what we think of as a place that's just for humans.
Right. So non-native plant species are a problem.
They can be. Yeah, I mean, most of the things that I grow for food are non-native plants, so I have maybe a different perspective on natives versus non-native.
Yeah, I understand that. That's different than the weed that came from South Carolina to here and now is taken over.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. Yeah.
So you're going to make a significant difference on this board.
It's possible.
It's strongly possible,
Yep.
and we're very excited that you're in there.
Good.
A lot of people, I'm sure, have talked to you about what their ideas for the future are.
Yeah.
So can you talk about that a little bit?
Let's see. A lot of people want there to be more transparency in the government. I mean, that's a real big one, because everybody has things that they want to see change or be improved upon or continue to be awesome in the county. And often feel stymied by the lack of knowing what's happening.
Sure.
Or feeling like processes aren't fair for them. Like I was at, an example of this is I was at our first formal board meeting today of the commissioners, and we took testimony on a gate on High Heaven Road at the very end of it before you go out into timberland. And lots of people testified, both who wanted the gate to stay and who wanted the gate to go away. And I thought, well, why are we just talking about this one gate when there's dozens and dozens of gates on our county roads as they traverse commercial timberlands? And I thought about the fairness of the process, that here all these people are talking about just this one gate, and which means that something might change with their gate, but what about all the other gates? And so I want to make sure that we're not reacting to things on a case-by-case basis, but really responding out there in the future, being proactive about our decisions.
Yeah, across the board.
Exactly.
Right.
So you don't have time to talk to me about your gate, but I know that you have a gate and that you are concerned about it, or you have the opportunity. Like, let's deal with everything together.
Sure.
So, let's see, a lot of people want the landfill to go away.
Oh, of course they do.
It's a very large obstacle.
450 feet tall.
So how we go about making that a less of an issue in our county is a big deal going forward, and a lot of people really want us to deal with that.
Right.
Is it something we can have removed? It seems absolutely impossible, but there's lots of things that we've done in the past that seem impossible.
Well, Superfund could come in and help.
Yes. So my concern with that is like how long it'll go.
Exactly.
Yeah, right. Like leaching into the future. I mean, right now we have Waste Management managing it, but when the landfill is closed, we still have it in our community.
That's correct.
Yeah. And there's been lots of, we have a landfill in Whiteson, which is immediately across the river from Riverbend, and then we have a landfill in Newburgh, and they are both constantly have expenses associated with them that the county has to pay every year.
Oh, really? I did not know that.
Yeah. But speaking of the Newburgh landfill, one of the exciting things is that the city of Newburgh and Chehalis Parks and Recreation want to, so this is something that other people want to do, is they want to develop a kayak paddle boat launch at the site of the Newburgh landfill, because it's immediately adjacent to Rogers Landing, which is a powerboat landing, essentially.
I understand.
And it's not a great place for paddlers, for non-motorized craft. There's not really the facilities there. It's not set up for it. But the city of Newburgh really wants to develop the whole stretch of the Willamette River that they are adjacent to as kind of like a waterfront park. Redevelopment, parks to it, some kind of recreation and outdoor entertainment. And so the Newburgh landfill would be great to turn it from a liability into an asset.
Yeah. That's awesome of Newburgh to even consider doing that.
I know.
I know it's just below what used to be S&P newsprint.
That's right.
And so I can see how that could work out well if they can do it.
Right. And we need to figure out what's going to happen with that site too. There's a lot of people who lost very, very good quality jobs there at S&P, but it seems pretty clear that it's not going to come back. And so
it's pretty apparent.
Yeah, going forward, we need to have something happen to it besides just having it sit there. Right.
So, in the realm of being a county commissioner, you really held to really certain stringent rules, like you can't interface with other commissioners and talk to them privately about certain things, and because then it becomes a meeting.
Right.
And minutes need to be taken, and there needs to be some
public notice.
Yeah, all of that stuff.
Yep.
So how do you interface with your people and not get in trouble over it?
Yeah, I am learning. I ran on very much on a like, let's make it a 5-commissioner board, but I really see the value in it now. Not being able to talk to another commissioner without the public present, and all of the the ways that we are different in public versus in a private setting.
Yes.
I think that's the easiest way to put that. It's so valuable to be able to talk about something with somebody before you go out in public and talk about it with them. And so I'm excited for that. I'm gonna, take the starting of actions towards a 5-commissioner board soon here.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So how does it feel to have your own office for the very first time?
So weird. I didn't tell you this earlier, but I have a 4-walled office with a ceiling and a floor, and all the walls are squared, and there's a door. Yeah. But my office for the past, ever since we've had kids, is because I cook our meals and I make our dinner, or wash our dishes. So the kitchen is like very much my space, as it were. And so my office is the floor of the kitchen. I remember Katie's office is the counter beside the kitchen. Because I don't mind sitting on the ground, and she's like, I'll stand up.
And your secondary office is your truck.
Yeah, that's right. Really, the primary office is the fields until recently. So, but yes, actually, the truck was also my changing room during the campaign.
Yes, exactly.
Like, roll down the door.
Exactly.
Change from dirty clothes to clean. Open the door again.
Look at that.
Yeah.
Look at the change in that man.
So it's different for sure to have that. Not quite accustomed to it.
So do you have some photographs or artwork that you're going to put on the walls?
Thanks to Katie, my wife, yes.
Good.
Yes, yeah. Yeah, so there's some photographs of vegetables because, we got to remember our roots.
Exactly, exactly.
My family lived in the Dalles and farmed the floodplain of the Columbia.
Sure.
Up to when the Dalles and the Bonneville dams were built.
Right.
So our family has a really strong connection to Celilo Falls.
Sure.
So we have a big picture of Celilo Falls that
perfect.
goes with me everywhere. Yeah,
awesome.
Yeah.
That's a good thing.
It is.
I like that.
Yeah. Yeah. The longest continually inhabited settlement in North America is Celilo Village.
Yes.
They had to move up the riverbank.
Right.
But there's so much there. So
I
like looking at it, and there's a very strong connection for me.
I love watching like Oregon Experience or Oregon Field Guide on PBS because they walk you through all the past filmings of when the falls actually was there.
Wow.
And the eels that they were getting and the fish that they were getting. And
The Grand Ronde, the Confederate tribes, the Grand Ronde, are building a platform in order to preserve and essentially assert their treaty rights at the Willamette Falls right now.
Oh,
and that's
good.
super exciting to me.
That's very exciting.
Yeah. It's just really great
and
to see.
That's the Oregon City Falls,
yes, exactly.
Right? Yeah.
Yes, because that was their primary location. So they take lamprey there every year, and then they're allowed, I want to say it's 16 Chinook every year, something like that. Yeah. But yeah, for the folks that I've talked to at the Tribal Council, that has sort of been a really special thing, like really important to their heritage to have the platforms back.
Absolutely.
There's pictures from the 1880s, photographs from the 1880s of people fishing there with their dip nets.
That's so awesome.
It's amazing. So I'm really proud that we're in the same county as the Confederate Tribes of the Grand Ronde.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
So we have about 5 minutes
left.
Anything that you want to talk about that you feel strongly about that you'd like to help represent and such, whether it be affordable housing or homelessness or whatever it might be.
Yeah. Well, this coming up in the next week, actually, you and I are both going to a meeting where we're going to try to talk about a complete solution for people experiencing homelessness.
Right.
So from people living in their cars and finding them a safe place, where if they need services, that they need mental health services, that they need chemical dependency services, they can get them, all the way up to long-term stable housing for people who are totally stable or who never will be. And so I'm really excited about that being a first not necessarily a first step for the county, but a first step for the county bringing everybody together.
Yes.
And let's look at the whole thing, and let's plan to spend money on it too.
Yeah.
Because I think that's a really important part, is the county acknowledging that they need to spend money.
Yes. So
because there's a lot of things we can do.
Oh,
there's
a ton of things that we can do. Tiny house villages, more affordable
Did you
housing.
say tiny house or tiny?
Tiny house villages.
Okay.
Yeah, tiny house villages.
Yeah, I heard ASS.
Affordable housing, which is really important. I mean, not only for our homeless or those in poverty, but for those who are commuting from X amount of miles to work in McMinnville.
Right.
And
we have a lot of people commuting to Portland because they can't afford prices in Portland.
Exactly. So yeah, it's
a pressure in many ways.
Yes. It's a catch-22 in a way, because it goes both ways.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
I mean, we need to start building up in our communities. That's the reality of it, is that we need to have more density and we need to have vertical. And I know that I live in a small, I don't actually live in a small town. I work and sell produce in a small town. And I live in the country because I love having space around us. But if we're going to keep especially if we're going to keep our urban growth boundaries in check while still addressing the need for affordable housing, we're going to need to get more dense.
Well, Mark just wrote a great article that was...
Mark Davis did!
It was fantastic, brother.
It was like, go Mark!
And now he's on the Affordable Housing Task Force, and that's really important.
Yeah.
I'm recently on the Strategic Doing Task Force for unaccompanied youth.
Okay.
And so there's a lot of great things happening in the county and the city and other cities that are trying to manage this complex issue.
Yeah.
And
the state's going to, or is they're talking about going
to
changing it so that single-family residence zoning essentially doesn't exist anymore.
Right.
And that is going to be a really big change. And I realize that it's going to dramatically shift some neighborhoods. But we are within the urban growth boundary here too.
I understand.
And there's a lot of neighborhoods that are currently zoned
and we may have to annex some of that land to do what we're hoping to do.
Yeah.
But the point is that, yes, we do need to stabilize how far out we're going to go.
Yeah, because our farmland and our open spaces are a big reason why people come to the county.
Oh, absolutely.
As visitors, but a really big reason why people will continue to live here or choose to live here. And so I want to make sure that we preserve those landscapes, those like working landscapes, even while we address affordable housing.
Oh, absolutely.
Or make housing more affordable.
Yes, make housing more affordable, more accessory dwellings in backyards, et cetera, but not preventing ourselves from utilizing land that needs to be utilized as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
So those are some of the things that we're going to talk about. But there's a lot to talk about. Solutions to this are enormous.
Yeah.
And no one entity can do it all. So you've got to have all of the right players together to do it.
Absolutely. I'm excited about the idea of the tiny house village.
Yeah.
We can get a lot of people into a smaller space.
Sure.
And it's amazing how really affordable a tiny house, some version of a tiny house, whether that's a trailer or a house or something, compared to trying to build everybody what I might call a real house or a market rate house. And we can get a lot of stable housing that way.
And we need to do that.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people on the streets that are desperate to be in out of the cold.
Yeah.
And the Gospel Rescue Mission can only take in so many people.
Right, and we need more spaces that are, I think you call it low barrier. Is that how you would call it?
Yeah.
Yeah, places where somebody can be in a housing first mindset.
Exactly.
Rather than like, okay, you can't use this, you can't do that. Here's all the rules. We do need spaces where people can just be.
And Utah's done a great job of that. They built enormous amounts of affordable housing and gave them to the homeless and those in poverty.
Okay.
And 85%, I think, are stable now. So that's pretty substantial.
It is. It really is. Yeah. In 2009, the county developed a 10-year plan to end homelessness.
Right. And we've been through the 10 years.
2019, and we should not have anybody who's homeless. That's the goal.
That was the goal.
Stated goal.
I was in from the inception.
Right.
So.
And in that time, we, I want to say, maybe I'm not right, but we doubled the number of people during the homeless count.
Yes.
The point in time count.
Point in time count.
During that point in time count, we've doubled in that period.
So we need to do something.
Yes. And we have time? Do we?
Yes.
When's the point in time count?
It's the last Wednesday of January.
Right. We did it.
Thanks for being on, brother. And thank you for watching today. Get involved.
That's right.
So our mic should be off.
Okay.